Before Joan of Arc raised her sword, before Elizabeth I ruled, Africa birthed women who rode into battle not from the shadows of men, but at the front of legions. They weren't supporting characters in someone else's history. They were history. This isn't a tale of queens draped in jewels. This is war. Blood, fire, tactics. These are 5 African queens who didn't just rule, they fought. Let's begin in Angola, 17th century. Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba, Angola. The Portuguese expected a kneeling diplomat. Instead, Nzinga walked into their court, noticed they offered her no chair, then turned her bodyguard into a human throne. That was her message: you will not diminish me. Born in 1583 to the royal family of the Ndongo people, Nzinga Mbodj was exposed early to the brutal realities of the transatlantic slave trade and Portuguese colonial encroachment. Her brother, King Angola Mbodj, failed to protect the kingdom from Portuguese manipulation. When he died, possibly by Nzinga's own orchestration, she seized power and quickly proved she was a force unlike any other. As queen, she styled herself as a king, not just in title. She dressed in male military attire and conducted royal rituals traditionally reserved for male rulers. Her reign marked a radical departure from gender norms in African leadership. Nzinga's strategic brilliance was evident in her diplomatic mastery. She outmaneuvered both the Portuguese and their African allies. She formed an alliance with the Dutch, sworn enemies of the Portuguese, and together they captured key forts and launched joint military campaigns. Nzinga used guerrilla tactics and the dense Angolan terrain to her advantage. She also leveraged marriage alliances and trade negotiations to strengthen her position. Nzinga created a sanctuary for escaped slaves and Portuguese-trained African mercenaries, forming a disciplined, loyal fighting force. Her capital in Matamba became a hub of resistance and diplomacy. For over 30 years, she maintained her kingdom's independence amid relentless foreign pressure. Nzinga didn't die in battle. She died in 1663, in her 80s, still on the throne. But her resistance inspired future generations of African independence fighters, from Angola's anti-colonial struggles in the 20th century to feminist movements today. Queen Gudit of Ethiopia. Centuries before Nzinga, the kingdom of Axum trembled beneath the wrath of a woman named Gudit, also known as Yodit. Legend says she burned churches, slaughtered priests, and razed the ancient capital to the ground. Her story is shrouded in myth and contradiction. Believed to have lived around the 10th century, Gudit came from a marginalized community, possibly Beta Israel, Ethiopian Jews, or an indigenous Cushitic group. Historians suggest she rose in rebellion against a weakening Aksumite empire, which had become fragile due to internal strife, shifting trade routes, and external invasions by Arab and Nubian powers. Gudit's uprising marked a turning point. Her campaign not only dismantled the remnants of the Aksumite monarchy, but also ushered in a new era of regional fragmentation in Ethiopia. Chronicles from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church describe her as a destroyer of churches and sacred relics, but these accounts may reflect religious bias. Her reign lasted an astonishing 40 years, during which she ruled over large parts of northern Ethiopia. She's been cast as both villain and hero, a demon queen fueled by vengeance, or a freedom fighter overthrowing religious oppression and imperial decay. Gudit's legacy lives on in Ethiopian folklore and religious texts. Her name still stirs debate. Was she a liberator, a tyrant, or something far more complex? Either way, she reshaped Ethiopia's political and religious landscape in a way no other woman had before or since. Queen Amanirenas of Kush, Nubia, Sudan. Picture this. Rome has conquered Egypt. They look south, to Nubia. But Amanirenas, queen and general, had other plans. After her husband King Teritikus died around 24 BCE, Amanirenas assumed full control of the Kushite kingdom. She was a Kandake, an elite title for queens who governed and commanded armies. Amanirenas didn't inherit a quiet court. She inherited a kingdom under threat from the Roman Empire. When Roman governor Aelius Gallus tried expanding into Nubia, Amanirenas launched a preemptive strike. Her armies captured key Egyptian towns including Syene, Elephantine, and Philae. They seized Roman statues and returned south in triumph. Rome retaliated brutally, sacking the Kushite capital of Napata. But Amanirenas wasn't finished. She launched another wave of attacks, this time employing guerrilla warfare, fortified defenses, and strategic alliances with desert tribes. Despite being blinded in one eye, possibly from battle wounds, she remained a fearless leader. The result? A negotiated peace treaty in 20 BCE that granted Kush autonomy and removed Roman garrisons from Nubian land. No tribute, no occupation. Few empires ever backed down from Rome, but Amanirenas forced their hand. Her victory made her a symbol of Kushite resilience. Her name appears in both Roman and Meroitic inscriptions, one of the few African leaders to achieve diplomatic equality with an empire as vast as Rome's. Ndaté Yalla Mbodj of Senegal. In the mid-1800s, as France clawed its way across West Africa, one woman refused to surrender. Ndaté Yalla Mbodj, the last queen of Walo, a powerful Wolof kingdom at the mouth of the Senegal River. Born in 1810 into a dynasty of resistance, Ndaté Yalla came of age in a time of turmoil. Her mother, Queen Fatim Yamar Kouria Mbodj, was known for resisting French colonialism and passed that fire on to her daughter. When Ndaté Yalla ascended the throne, she was faced with mounting French aggression. St. Louis had become a colonial hub, and French authorities were demanding tribute and submission. In response, she issued a defiant proclamation: Walo pays no tribute. Walo bows to no one. She solidified alliances with the Charzamurs and built up her cavalry, largely composed of Fulani horsemen trained in mobile desert warfare. Under her leadership, Walo resisted French outposts, disrupted supply lines, and ambushed convoys headed inland. The French eventually launched a massive military expedition in 1855. Outnumbered and outgunned, Walo fell. Ndaté Yalla was captured and exiled, but her resistance echoed through Senegalese history. She's remembered in griot songs, murals, and national memory as a queen who faced down an empire with unyielding defiance. In a colonial world that demanded submission, Ndaté Yalla Mbodj chose war. Queen Yennenga of Burkina Faso. Before there was a nation called Burkina Faso, there was a warrior on horseback, Yennenga. She wasn't just the daughter of a king, she was the mother of an entire people. Born around the 12th century to King Ndégé of the Dagomba Kingdom, in present-day northern Ghana, Yennenga was no ordinary princess. By the age of 14, she was commanding battalions, known for her prowess with spears and bows. Her victories on the battlefield earned her widespread respect and envy. But her father, reluctant to lose his best warrior, refused to allow her to marry. Feeling trapped, Yennenga disguised herself in male armor, escaped the palace on horseback, and rode into the wilderness. In the forests of northern Ghana, she met Rial, a solitary hunter. Their love story became the origin myth of the Mossi kingdoms. Their son, Ouedraogo, whose name means stallion in honor of Yennenga's horse, became the first Mossi ruler. Yennenga's legacy lives on in Burkina Faso's national consciousness. Statues of her stand in Ouagadougou, and the country's national football team is named after her. She represents not just courage and independence, but the very birth of a people. Unlike many queens whose names were lost to time, Yennenga's story has survived through oral tradition and national reverence. She wasn't a ruler of gold-covered halls. She was a founder who rode alone into uncertainty and built a dynasty from it. These women were more than monarchs. They were commanders, revolutionaries, and visionaries. They turned oppression into defiance, thrones into battlefields. History might have tried to forget them, but we won't.